Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Sicat. You're muted, Donna.
Sorry. My name is Donna Conwell, and we are your hosts of Scratch Space.
Scratch Space is a virtual forum hosted by the Lucas Artist Program at Montalvo Arts Center, which is located in Saratoga, California, on the ancestral lands of the Ohlone people. With Scratch Space, we bring together visual artists, scholars, composers, activists, writers, and others to explore what kind of radical imaginations can unfold in this moment of pandemic, racial reckoning, economic uncertainty, civil unrest, and environmental crisis.
We're interested in thinking about what is possible and how we can use our imaginations to build a better present and future, how we can retool and create better and more equitable models for living and working together. So tell us about our guest today, Kelly.
I'm excited about our guest today, and I'm going to say our guests because with Dahlak Brathwaite comes a whole cohort of enthusiastic supporters, collaborators, and fellows. Dahlak is a hip-hop rooted performance artist, spoken word poet, actor, musician, and writer, and currently finishing up an MFA program at NYU in musical theater. Since launching onto the national spoken word scene by winning the Brave New Voices International Poetry Slam, which is now found on HBO, Dahlak's been featured on media outlets such as Upworthy, Two Dope Boys, and Pitchfork. He's appeared on the Travis Smiley radio show, various NPR member stations, and last 2 seasons of HBO's Russell Simmons Presents Deft Poetry Jam. Dahlak has worked closely with Broadway's veteran and Rockefeller Fellow Mark Bamuthi Joseph, pioneering the emerging genre of hip-hop theater. Dahlak has written and performed in several of Joseph's critically acclaimed plays, including Word Becomes Flesh, produced at the Public Theater and the Lincoln Theater. From 2007 to 12, Dahlak has released five musical projects, which include albums Spirit Trials, that serves as a soundtrack for his solo performance theatrical work. 2015, Dahlak was selected as a musician for the U.S. State Department International Exchange Fellowship called One Beat. Through this fellowship, Dahlak was invited to the White House for the SXSL event in 2016, a meeting of innovators in the arts, sciences, and technology, championed and hosted by President Barack Obama. So today, Dahlak and I will be joined by many of his collaborators and fellows to look at how he's been navigating through this moment of pandemic, how he's building community, how he's supporting his fellow students in his program, and they're coming together. And most importantly, we're looking at the development of a theatrical work we commissioned at Montalvo in 2016 entitled Adapting Histories. This work was later funded. We'll go on to talk about what it's become today. Hi, Dahlak.
Hello. Thank you.
I'm going to have to just say this idea of adapting got us adapting.
Yeah, I tend to push the people around me.
All right.
So I'm just going to say that I'm super excited for this conversation. And links to Dahlak's bio and all of his various projects are going to be posted in the chat.
Sure.
We just want to quickly thank Nathan Zanon, our producer behind the scenes, and Danielle, who's providing live captioning for this event. To access that, you just need to press the CC closed caption button at the bottom of your screen. So I'm going to disappear now and leave Kelly and Dahlak to have a conversation, and then I'll return to field questions from you, our audience. So please post your questions and comments in the chat, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna. See you soon. Dahlak,
Yes.
thanks for making time to be
Yeah.
with us.
Always from Montalvo Art Center. Always for you.
It's a treat to have you. Um, I'm going to let our audience know you and I had the opportunity last night to get
Yeah.
together with collaborators and also, you know, this extraordinary move you've made to turn your family home into a residency.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of ground to cover, but I just want to talk a moment about adapting history. And if you can give us a little journey. This was a theatrical work. It was a musical theater piece you created at Montalvo,
Yeah.
commissioned it, and it was for a youth audience.
Yes.
So I want you to just talk a little bit about why this kind of work for youth is important to you.
Yeah.
And then what happened after you left Montalvo, took it on the road, and then where did we go? How did we get where we are today?
Great. Well, maybe I'll take us to 2014, One Beat. We had a kids show as part of our residency there. One Beat was a fellowship program sponsored by the U.S. State Department and Found Sound Nation, where you know 25 musicians from 17 different countries came together at Montalvo Art Center, and we had a kids show. And it was the first time I've done workshops for youth, but that was the youngest age that I've ever done. I think we were at 6 to 9 years old.
I think that's right.
And I remember like the ideal kind of sparking, like, well, feeling empowered, like, oh, I could actually have, like, through music, there is something I could communicate to this young of an audience, since my subject matters tends to be so socially, politically charged. It's hard to create a reference point sometimes at that young of age, but through music, we can start them very young. So I had this ideal for adapting history. Charlie, who was working out of the education department, was interested in supporting that vision, and I know everybody at the LucasArts Residency collaborated as well to help me and support me in that, giving me space, giving me audience, and in about in a month of that residency time, I created most of what we'll see today, honestly, in terms of an hour-long piece, playing 5 different characters and using the music of not only my solo play but my solo album, Spirituals. And I consider adapting history part of this trilogy of work. It's Spirituals, which is a solo play, Tri-Step Trip, which is an ensemble piece, and now adapting history, which is a film for young audiences, and it deals with the same music and similar subject matter, as it revolves around my experience through the criminal justice system and me adapting through that, but also kind of a revelation and a reawakening of the rite of passage. For me, at least, in terms of what like a sad rite of passage for too many black males that I had now also been inducted into. And this is not, and I say in Tri-Step Chip, I learned black as a student of the music and as a subject of the police. And I would say that, Spirituals and Tri-Step Shift really deals with the subject of the police part of this, and adapting history deals with the student of the music part of this.
Well, and adapting history takes a look back at the history of being Black in America.
Yes. Yes.
Who are the Black people in America, where they come from.
Yeah.
And so with the commission at Montalvo, you were looking at American history, and I'll never forget you saying to me, I said, well, Dahlak, this is great, and this is a look at Black history. And you said, no, this is a look at American history.
Yes. Yeah.
And this was, 2015, 16. This is what you intended to do, is tell another story of American history.
Yeah. Well, Well, and leaning into this ideal of adapting history, in that we are always adapting history, no matter who's telling it. And throughout this film, hopefully, we are planning to show the whole thing at the February 28th, last day of Black History Month, and we'll show 10 minutes today. But throughout the whole film, I'm constantly undermining my version of history. But I hope that serves to empower people to not take their own version of history, but like look at history through a personal perspective, a personal lens. Understand that people are giving you their personal bias when they're giving you their history, and I think that should empower us all to contribute into what history is. You know, if memory, if history is for the collective, what memory is for the individual, then we all need to be part of the collective memory and contribute to
And
the collective
and the
memory.
collective narrative.
Yes, for sure.
Because today, 2020, 2021, more than ever, we are living in history.
Yes, for sure.
Every day is making history.
And that's why, I mean, it really highlights to have this film come out at this time, even though it does deal with this particular evolution of music. It's about the human spirit at the end of the day, and how we adapt.
So, Dahlak, at what point did you decide you wanted to expand adapting history? You actually took the history back to the roots of the music.
Yes, yeah. We did a trip to Africa, sponsored by One Beat, where we were hosted by PPS the writer in Senegal, and some of my collaborators, family and friends, Amadeo Gonzalez in Cape Verde, and they'll join us later. Yes, and we did research. You know, a lot of the music actually you'll hear in these first parts are samples from actual drum circle that we were allowed to participate into, and we'll be, you know, we'll be continuing the cycle in terms of like, oh, they fed us, and you know, how can we, you know, regenerate and give that back to them. That was kind of our lesson, you know, coming, you know, as PPS the writer's guest in his neighborhood, where he grew up next to this community of griots, this family of griots, and they let us in and let us hear their sounds and record their sounds, and I can't wait for them to experience and see what we've done too.
Yeah, no kidding. And so you did that research trip in 2019.
Yes.
And then the Mondavi Center, along with Art Power at UC San Diego,
yes,
got involved to help expand the.
Well, in the midst of the pandemic and the shutdown, and what are we going to do as theater creators? They wanted a virtual event, and I think, you know, I could have easily taken the money and said, "Cool, I'll do a Zoom event and I'll do the Zoom presentation of this." But I really wanted to make an art project, you know, and you know, I'll just say, everything we had went to this project, you know, and all my collaborators. And I think it speaks also to the larger thing of what happened in Sacramento, is that so many people work for free, for cheap, you know, just to help contribute to this film. And it'll show you honestly the power of community, the power, you know, people ask me, why do you come back to Sacramento? Why you could be in LA, New York, and I love those places, but this is home, you know, and I have roots here, and those roots have enabled me to exchange on something more than what I could get from you and what you could get from me. It's about, you know, who we are together.
Well, and that power of community, I feel like that is more and more becoming who you are, because the other thing I want our audience to understand before we launch into our conversation from last night is you've taken your family home. You've invited all of your sort of cohort of NYU graduate students for the musical theater department, 6 of you in the house, correct? To come and be in residency together. Can you just, why'd you do that?
Well, you know,
should I ask?
I mean, it's a good question. And you're right. I think the goal for community has become stronger and stronger. It's one of the reasons why I applied to NYU to take part of that Tisch community of the graduate musical theater writing program that I'm in, which was a great community, which has pushed my art in so many ways. And collaborating with them that first year and then being shut down this second year and all being in separate places. And I knew I didn't want to go back to New York in the midst of the pandemic, and I needed this sun and California space, and just floated ideas into some collaborators through in the program. Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing right now. We're supposed to be going to school. We're supposed to be doing it through Zoom, and we're supposed to be making music. And we all helped each other last year. I got the space. Let's help each other again. If you're down, let's spend a month and create and work and help each other, feedback, sing on each other's songs, play guitar for each other, whatever it was or whatever it is. And honestly, I wanted, like, that was my dream over the summer. I was like, I want to make this into a movie adapting history, and I was actually gonna make. We talk about it later, but I was gonna turn this place into like a black box studio, and I wanted to film it here, and I wanted to let this serve as a residence house in this time where we could be anywhere. Let's be together and let's help each other and bring the best out of each other, and hopefully you'll see a culmination as well of all of the work that came out of this, hopefully at the end of the month or the beginning of March. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
We can't wait. We will share it with our audiences far and wide when the film comes. But now we're going to move into meeting Dahlak's collaborators who helped him create this film. It sounds like they came on the idea. They decided this wasn't a virtual theater production, but they were going to do something more. And then we're going to meet Dahlak's current residency fellows, his NYU cohort, and really look at the power of critique and allow them to give feedback on the performance and just see how they all are working together. So Dahlak, I thank you for bringing us into your world and sharing this moment. And I know there'll be questions for you in the end. Great. So I look forward to being back with you in a minute.
Sounds good. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. So I'm so pleased you could join us this evening. I'm Kelly Sicat, and Dahlak, I'd like to ask you to introduce your collaborators on the film.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me and my folks. This it's hard to make. I guess on your right is Amadeo Gonzalez, longtime friend of mine, and on the left is Vicente Almanza, my collaborator, both collaborators on this film, adapting history, all serving in a kind of co-director role, but having special roles and talents that we all took charge in. I was writer performer. Amadeo was heavy on the production and producing side, and Vicente was our cinematographer extraordinaire.
So great. Dahlak's been speaking to me about kind of the value of building community, especially in this time. And I'm curious what you thought when he came to you. First of all, he never came to you to create a film. You were all going to develop this work, and you were going to travel to West Africa. Yeah. And I wonder what that experience was like. You two as old friends, and Vicente being so connected to Amadeo, and just if you can talk about that a little bit, the three of you.
Yeah. I mean, first thing I go is like the inception of this whole thing. We were just talking about, our trip to San Francisco, and just kind of, multiple trips. We have a ritual of a particular place that we just go to and get out in nature, and just continuing to talk about like how we're gonna work together, and it all kind of came together, like really thinking about Amadeo's Cape Verdean roots, and that's eventually where we one of the places that we went for our trip for the research for part of this film. Do you want to talk about a little bit about that? If you want to talk a little bit about that, about the the trip, and
it came together. I mean, it's super organic, and I mean, we've been talking for years. Yeah, like Dahlak was saying, let's work on something, and just the time will come, and he had mentioned, well, man, there's possibly this opportunity to travel and have a learning opportunity and present it when we come back, and it's very like small scale ideas initially. And then he's like, well, I got a connection in Senegal. It's like Cape Verde Islands, my family's from Cape Verde Islands. So that's only, over 300 miles away, but like right off the coast of Senegal. And I have some music connects there. He's got music connects in Dakar, Senegal. And then, me having these small businesses here in SAC, was like, one thing we had always connected about was I really wanted to use these businesses as a platform to, create connections in the community and most importantly, prop up artists, of all different mediums. And so it made sense in a real weird way. And then, every serious hurdle we encountered, like COVID, led to another opportunity to then turn into like educational film. So that the trip was amazing. We met all kind of different teachers along the way, musicians, just friends of some contacts we had out there, and all kind of different instruments started popping up in our journey, and different ways of storytelling, to the point where we were sharing a little bed in the car, both of us on one little bed. We're just like little kids, just like, man, this is crazy. Like, you can't believe it's actually falling together in this crazy way. It's like we're having a slumber party. It's like, yeah, but we're 34.
And it's continued to fall together in great ways in terms of, I was telling you about Amadeo's connections with Mayor Johnson, ex-Mayor Johnson of Sacramento, and that being a space, the Guild Theater, a historic theater in Sacramento, where we were able to film this piece, and the community that you brought to this work, through all the work that you and Vicente do at Flamingo and Darling Aviary, in terms of like, the creative space, with the videos that you create, with the, with the artists that you, promote. It couldn't have came together any other way, but through that community that like helped us create this thing in so many different ways.
So for just a moment, I want to go back to Cape Verde and Senegal, and just the fact that you were able to secure the resources to go and do that research. For you, Amadeo, were you born in Cape Verde?
No, my grandparents on my father's side immigrated from Cape Verde Islands, from the little island of Brava in the Cape Verde Islands, and they came
you made
here.
A trip back.
What's up?
You made a trip back before.
I went to law school here in SAC, and after law, I would always dream as like little kid going back and finding my my great grandparents' home, which I always heard stories about, but didn't know if it really existed. It's like you kind of, as you grow up as a kid, you're like, is my dad just telling me this because it sounds great? And went back and spoke with Dahlak a couple times when I was there. It was in 2016. It was like mind blowing. Like, and I actually found the home and cousins and so then it just really, really passionate about maybe going back. And then when the opportunity arose, it was just like it's like too good to be true,
And we share that similar, I think, desire to, like inspect our roots. I think it is that going back and trying to like, like that's one thing that also, I mean, besides our friendship, besides the community, the artists that we want to uplift, like it was also that deep desire to inspect history, to inspect where we came from. I mean, you did that after law school, and it was kind of like a way to like move forward in a way of like dreaming of what you wanted to do next. So
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's been, I mean, a commonality, like Dee was saying, in our friendship, really. I mean, a lot of our connections throughout college weren't like go out and have a good time, but a lot of it was conversation about like what's going on and cultural shifts, and how to analyze certain things happening around us that are, really connected, like a lot of socioeconomic issues and stuff like that. So it really beautiful how like that theme kind of continued into like from a friendship to like a working relationship.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. So you all took the trip together in 2019, came back with the intention of,
It was 20. Was it 2019? Was it 2019?
Yeah, crazy.
we're
Yeah.
living in a time warp. Remember that you're trying to like take care of this time frame. And now, right, we enter 2020 and you're ready to produce this as a, expanded theatrical work. And
Yeah.
now what? We go into COVID. So then Vicente, this when you hooked up with these guys, because you had all of the context, I understand, to make this happen. What was it like for you to get into this project? And I just recall watching Dahlak, posting, and all of a sudden he was made up and he was in a different costume and sort of understanding. I mean, you guys really worked your connections and your community to be able to make this happen in a really profound way. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Vicente, we kind of like, I mean, you were part of this from the beginning in terms of, like we were saying, fundraising, but like,
Yeah.
I don't think we even really had like a long conversation once we knew, like, we wanted it to be a film, and I think me and Vicente also share a background of living in LA and kind of, experiencing that scene, and really seeing what could be made out there and how things get made. And I don't know if you want to talk to, I like in terms of like, we're going to make this a film. I feel like it wasn't even that long of a conversation. It was like, I'm ready.
No. I mean, everything happened so quick, it was originally, I just made the fundraiser video and it's going to be, a live performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then once everything happened, you just mentioned like, all right, we're gonna make it a film. I was like, all right, let's do it.
And I mean, it was this constant, I feel like this constant, back and forth. I had a script. I had to, Vicente was telling me how to, like turn it into like something that he could actually shoot. And I don't know if you want to, I mean, I'm actually kind of curious because I feel like it was a learning process for all of us for who, you're probably, Vicente, you probably know the most in terms of film and how to make a film. And as I'm curious about, any things that you learned, because I knew it was a big learning curve for me as well.
I mean, it was probably the biggest production that I've done with like the coming together the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just not having the professional resources that you would have in LA as far as other crew members.
Yeah.
So it's sort of just finding people to fill these roles.
And we're playing multiple roles too. Yeah.
Yeah. So like everybody's filling 3 or 4 roles. The crew is really small and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly.
So it was just like all these layers stacked.
Mm-hmm.
But through the mayor, you were able to get access to the theater, correct?
Yes.
So you had a small cast or a small crew in there working with you, Dahlak. And tell me just the content. To me, this moment in time feels like the moment for bringing history forward, the untold stories of history forward, not the stories that we all know so well. And how did you feel about sort of, you've been working on this for a couple of years now, but all of a sudden we're in, this unusual kind of place to be working on a project like this, especially for young people.
Yeah. And again, I just keep thinking about this. I spent a lot of time. I'm in my second year of NYU grad school, so the summer was a big relief for me in a lot of ways. I slowed down in a lot of ways, but this opportunity through Mondavi Center, through UCSD, Our Power came about to give us extra resources to reimagine this thing right now. And I just remember calling Amadeo, and like as I was like on a beach
Well, and you're going to say something, Amadeo.
Oh, I remembered as you were saying that, like initially, when it was like, oh, well, we need this void, which you'll see in the preview, and this empty space that we can use as a center, like like a headquarters, I guess, for like all of this traveling through time and be able to like connect the dots in this pretty elaborate story. Initially, it was like, oh, well, Dahlak was like, we'll do it in my parents' dining room in his home. Literally, our initial meeting was we went there and we're just thinking of how do we paint everything black and deal with reflections, all this. And, you know, I started thinking about connections at the mayor's office. It's like, well, let me just throw up a Hail Mary and see if he'd be down to help us out. And then it was just, I mean, it was like, yeah, for sure. When do you guys need it? You know, but just thinking about how we started off thinking, you know, let's film this whole thing in your parents' dining room, which would have been just brutal. You know, I think we would have still made it work. You know, but
it's incredible. He's incredibly lucky to have you both in his life. I mean,
Sure.
to have this kind of community and connection to community is really, really great to see a work like this come to life. I want Amadeo for you to tell us where we are right now, where you two are sitting, you and Vicente, because we didn't record that piece.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're at a darling aviary, which I'm co-owner over here in the Flamingo House, also in Sacramento. So we've a couple buddies that I had throughout law school, bartended with. We really wanted to make a artistic place that really made strong connections, not only with like, you know, DJs in the music world, but also other types of performing artists, visual artists. So we built this place, you know, by hand with a lot of, I mean, you got to come visit one day, a lot of murals and artwork inside of it. So essentially we kind of wanted to build a bar, but more of have in mind like an art exhibit turned into a bar. So we're on the rooftop at Darling Aviary right now.
And are there birds at Darling Aviary?
We got some bird action right here, you know.
So I'd give anything to be sitting where you are.
Anytime. We'd love to have you.
We'll be there soon. So I think we should watch the first part one together, and then we're going to invite in Dahlak's NYU cohort to kind of give us a critique about where we are with the project.
Great.
That sound okay? Is there any last thoughts before we break?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really terrific. Okay, so we'll screen it together. I'm going to share the screen.
Great.
Sometimes, when I feel I can't be myself, I adapt.
You see the same person, but something shifts.
Can be a switch of movement.
Can be a change in pitch. I adapt. Because sometimes the powers that be won't just let you be. Or sometimes you gotta be someone else or something else. Because you can't tell the story you wanna tell. And in your own voice.
Hey, wait, I'm not done yet. The key is to never lose yourself. Because to adapt is to be human, so that you don't disappear. And what good is adapting if at least a part of you isn't still here?
Every bit of your flavor, your culture, your swagger, just a little more extra. You just take one part and make it extra. You see, me and him, we hip hop, but me, I'm extra hip hop. So if we talking hip hop, we gonna have to adapt. And that's all we do in hip hop. You know, we just take a little part like this and make it extra. I mean, it still is what it is. It's just a little bit more. And that little bit more is my culture, my flavor, my swagger. I adapted it.
Yeah, like you put in that bass. Like it was cool before, but that bass make me go like whoop whoop. Like for me, it's all about the beat. So if it's not making me move, I'm like, whatever, you know, you better go somewhere with that stuff. I like all music, but not like country or jazz. Like, not enough bass, you know, I need that boom, boom, that sub. So when I play my homegirl Maria tune, I must adapt. Cause if she don't hear this, she might not hear this. And in a way, it's like the old music lives. Maybe with the switch of movement.
Or a change in pitch.
It adapts.
Like a spirit to a body. A spirit that's been around for a long, long time. I know a spirit that's been around for a long time. If you listen closely, you can still hear it. The story of how the spirit adapts. Hey, hey, ha, ho, hey, hey, ha, ho, hey, hey, ha, ho, hey, hey, ha. How far back you wanna go? Cause I've been around here for a long time. Long time. Yeah, I'm old school. Old time. Long time. Long time.
You're so old, your social security number is 1. Long time.
You're so old, your birth certificate says expired.
Long time.
You so old, in history class, you used to just write down what you was doing.
Long time. Oh yeah, I'm old school. Old time. Long time.
Long time.
This is the story of a spirit trying to find itself. A spirit stripped of home, of language, of dance, of song. How much can one strip before a spirit is no more? Before a spirit is broken? Well, I know spirit stripped of home, of language, of dance, of song.
and the spirit didn't break. Oh, there's no time for breaks back then. Only work. Hey, breaking work. Day in and day out. That's how we work. I work and I shout. That's how we work. See, I was born as a slave. That's how we work. That mean I work for no pay. That's how we work. So this the music I make. That's how we work. To help me get through my day. That's how we work. We couldn't use our drum. That's how we work. So now we sing and hum. That's how we work. And with free hands and feet. That's how we work. That's how we keep the beat. That's how we work. If our bodies hold the music, that's how we work. And we never have to lose it. That's how we work. So if I'm out in the field, that's how we work. And I sing how I feel, that's how we work. They say I come from Africa, that's how we work. And they got songs like this, that's how we work. But now we sing it in English, that's how we work. So that we don't get whipped. That's how we work. First I do my thing. That's how we work. And the whole choir sing. That's how we work. I call, you respond. That's how we work. So now you sing along. That's how we work. This is how the spirit survived. Left to die on the shores of West Africa. This West African tradition to call. That's how we work. This West African tradition to respond. That's how we work. Adapted that for the new world. That's how we work. Because back in the old world, song was sung to become a man. Or maybe song was sung to attract a girl. But there was always function in the song. That's how we work. And now there was a new function in the song. That's how we work. This call was in search. That's how we of another work. West African who knew to respond. That's how we work. Even if the dance was different where he was from. That's how we work. Even if the language was different where she was from. That's how we work. This is how the spirit survived. That's how we work. In ritual, in chant. That's how we work. Allowed by the masters because that's how we work. It helped the slaves to plant. That's how we work. And the old African says, is there a spirit out there? And the new American says, I am somebody. And the song is the spirit. The work is the dance. The language is the rhythm. That's how we It tells me to move my hands. That's how we And in harmony we made bonds. That's how we And with harmony we break bonds. That's how we And for the new American song. That's how we One where everyone sings along. So now you gon' sing along. That's how we Cause everybody is called upon. That's how we One where everyone performs. That's how we work.
Congratulations, all
Thank you,
three
thank
of you on the film.
Thank
It was
you.
really, really great. And I can't wait to see the entire length. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to that release. You're going to have to give us the date.
Yes, we'll do. We'll do. We'll say it again, but we're planning for February 28th, the last day of Black History Month, to really, yes.
Good, and we're planning to share it with our teachers on our 19th annual teacher conference.
Perfect.
on March
Great.
6th.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So let's go around so that we can all just sort of, if I can ask you to introduce yourselves, the NYU gang, right? And sort of where'd you come to Sacramento from to join Dahlak in this moment of residency? Anybody can start.
Don't be shy.
We can start in our little box. We'll start. My name's Alex Becker. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. I live in Brooklyn now. My name is Kat Cardichello. I am from New Jersey, but I've lived in New York City for the past 11 years.
Terrific.
I can go next. I'm Erica. I'm originally from the San Francisco area, and I'm currently living out in Ridgewood, New York as well. Kat's my roommate. Hey.
And I'm Claire. I'm originally from LA, and I actually came here from staying with my sister in LA. But I also, for school, I'm usually based out of Brooklyn.
It's terrific.
And I'm Mikey. Hi, thanks for having us. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I drove from Brooklyn down to Nashville and zigzagged my way across the country to join Dahlak and all of these beautiful people in Sacramento. And it was a journey, but we're excited to be here.
Yeah, Alex drove too, so it's been quite a quest, and I just yes, I just want to say too, the way that the program kind of pairs us off is as composer or music people and words people, and some of us, a good deal of us are both, but I was studying as a music person, composer, and you all could introduce yourselves as well in terms of those. And Mikey and I, we kind of like shared duties on our whole thesis project, so we're doing everything. But yeah,
it's the way you like it, isn't it, Donna?
I can't help myself.
Everybody. Yeah. Do you want to just tell us quickly your discipline, word, music?
Matt and I are actually working on our thesis together. We are as well. Yes.
Great.
And I'm a composer in the program.
Great. You guys are real soft on your mic.
Oh, really? I don't know why. Is that anybody?
Erica and Claire.
In our collaboration, I write music.
And I'm writing the words.
Yeah. Claire's hilarious, by the way.
So you're...
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as Dahlak said, we're writing our thesis together and sharing all of the words and the music together, which has been an exciting collaboration.
Well, it's awesome to have you here, a whole sort of cohort of young emerging talent. So we're excited for you to keep us posted on your work. But I want to dive into this piece. You know, Adapting History was a project Montalvo originally supported. I'm going to say Dahlak 2016.
Yeah.
And we took it live for a school show. And so to see it continuing to have a life, and in my mind, such a relevant life at this moment, I just love you all to do what you do and give us a little kind of glimpse into your own critique time, your residency time, and give us your feedback.
Yeah, I told them to be gentle. Like, this is not the lab critique of, like, you know. But yes, again, I feel like one of the reasons I invited them here is just because we do have this culture of giving each other feedback, and we'd love to know what you felt and received from the film.
Yeah, I'm happy to start if that helps. I mean, congratulations, Dahlak. I personally really enjoyed and found it really meaningful. And I think one of the things I find that you've done really well in this piece is I think this piece is quite deftly navigating the weight of history and also the levity of learning and exploring. I feel like both of those things are so important, both to, you know, just how we learn and also, you know, just how we connect with art. And I feel like that's something, and knowing that this is something that you've created, wanting to share it with kids, I feel like that's especially important, but also as an adult, I think that's something that really resonates with me. Both that the critical weight of the history that we have, including what's dark, but also, you know, the joy and the comedy and the characters that you have here. So that's something that I think is just done so well in this.
Thank you. And I just want to add on too, like, I feel like I've learned so much in the program as well. And like, I know this would have been a different film without learning from each and every one of y'all and our bigger cohort. We have we all love each other in this group in class, and it's a very supportive team. And I feel like I've grown a lot and had some of the capabilities and facilities through this program to make it what it was.
I'll jump in here. I think, congrats, Dahlak, obviously, and to the amazing team of filmmakers to make this thing happen. I know that Dahlak, on top of having grad school to complete, was making this beautiful project with you all, and it's really well done. It's really well crafted. As Erica was saying, it's a great balance of light and heavy. And I think for educational purposes, I feel like too oftentimes, the material that's out there is just light, and doesn't carry the weight, and sometimes, erases the history because we feel like students or children can't, access the heavier subject matter. And I think this piece does a really good job of making these stories accessible. And to me, it does that in so many different ways with the fun characters, but also the pacing of the piece, all in different segments, trading off from different narrators with different aesthetics. So if you don't really resonate with one, you can resonate with another. They're all telling a collective story, which is what the piece is about too. So it's practicing what it's preaching in the delivery, and I think that's very effective. And just it's really tight. The editing is beautiful, and there's different elements from animation to song to dance, and so it really keeps the audience member, especially myself, engaged and felt like I was invited into the story.
Yeah. Mikey also contributed to part 4 of the piece, and it's funny that you all, have experienced each other's work, and Mikey's experienced Vicente and Amadeo's work, and vice versa, but never really met. But he contributed some music to part 4, and then also, there were a few weekends where I was like, "Hey, man, you need to turn in our assignment for I'm not available at all." And he also held it down on that front as well. So.
And to that, Dahlak, I mean, just because of the subject matter that we're developing and exploring in our thesis project, we're really finding that all the art that we participate is contagious and in a good way. And so, I've learned a lot from Dahlak going through this process and doing this research. We're applying a lot of similar themes and ideas to our thesis piece. And I think that's a great example of what we're talking about today, is just, cross collaborative learning and art making.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in quickly to talk about, because, one of the things I think we're all going through right now is figuring out, how do we adapt this form that we're working in? How are we adapting our pieces? How are we reconfiguring theater during this moment? And one of the things that really struck me about this piece too is about the form and the aesthetic that Dahlak is working in a way that I've really never seen on TV, and that I think is really exciting and special, because it's not filming a theater show and putting it on TV, and it's not trying to be, it's not trying to be a TV show in any way that we've seen before. So I thought it was really exciting and pulls us in a really strong way, because it's nothing we're used to watching. So that was really cool, and that's a props to you guys helping in the creative direction and the filming of it, and the choreography and the way all those elements are coming together.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to shout out Delina Brooke and Samara Atkins, who led the dance team and choreographed it. And, again, things falling together. We didn't have dancers 2 days before we were going to shoot it, just okay,
Was it Vicente who found the dancers?
No, it was I who found the dancers, but it was after we exhausted, I think, all of our lists, and just nobody wants some money, or it's just everything moves slow these days, so you send an email, you might get a response a month later. So it was kind of fascinating to like, and that became such a beautiful part of the piece is the movement that she contributed. So, just really grateful for that. And just kind of bouncing off adapting history, I do want to also highlight part of the reason why I also invited you all to this chat too, is just to really highlight what we're doing here and the ways that we're kind of adapting the culture of our program, because and you could tell more, but I think we got close through this process of learning together, working together, helping each other. And if anybody wants to speak on that, I would love to like really prop that up.
One thing that like immediately comes to mind, which also kind of goes back to the form of this piece, is how you are able to use it to connect history with what is happening in the present moment. And I think that that is just so seamless and so beautifully done. And in a way, like this residency is connecting like how we started out this program, where we in rooms together
Yeah.
for days on end and just working with each other and trying to help each other, and how like in a way history and the modern times like influence each other as well. And there's a really interesting parallel in that
Yeah.
that I wanted to give a shout out to.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
Yeah, I also think one of the things that's been the most exciting thing, I don't know, I'm just trying to bring them together, but the things that have been so exciting about working together in this very specific kind of group, that I was also able to see kind of in seeing your the way you were sharing this information, Dahlak, in this show, was like there's just this incredible like ability to act as like a very safe person to introduce people to new language, and there's a real safety and a caretaking nature in that. I think I think of comparable, I mean not really comparable stuff, but I since we watched this, I've been thinking a lot about like Dora the Explorer and Ni Hao Kailan, and like how in that you get to have like 2 words in Spanish or whatever other languages, and it feels like a really it feels really like there's a lot of care taken in terms of the audience, and I think with regards to that language, the only way we can like talk about these things is if we have the words to talk about them, and in that you're making everyone who's watching this feel so safe and kind of opening up the conversation for that. And in the same way, we're in this house, it's been that kind of safety, that conversation, that ability to articulate things that we're not totally sure about, and we're not totally we don't have our most articulated versions of these thoughts, obviously, which I am
no, but I mean, like,
and we're creating something exciting through it.
I mean, talk about safe space. I think that's what the program encouraged us last year. To be free, and it's kind of hard to create a safe space by yourself. I mean, it's like that's who I was dealing with most of this pandemic, by myself, of just like, how do I, conjure inspiration within myself? How do I, keep myself at a level where I could continue to make my art? And I really realized it's not supposed to be done that way. Like this is us trying, but the way that I adapted was to say, hey, I've lived in this. My this house has been in my parents and in my family's ownership for the last 20 years, and my parents are retired in Grover Beach now. I'm going to take over this house because I made all my albums here, but I don't want to just make it here by myself. I don't want to make my next project here by myself. I want to do and have what I had last year, and I want to, make it together, because as I've grown as an artist, for me, it feels like it's less about the particular art I want to do, and it's more about the fact that we did it together and that we brought people together through it. And I think, I know that's our goal too in this residency program, of like, we're gonna work hard for the next 2 more weeks, and hopefully maybe even collaborating with Amadeo and Vicente, like figure out a way to like display the work that's come out of this place. And again, I know I'm talking a lot, but I just want to shout out you, Kelly, because this is actually inspired. All of these things are adapting history, and this residency program that I'm trying right now are inspired by, just that support that you have for my work from very early on.
Well, and that, I mean, it's part of who you are. I met you with One Beat. You were immersed in a community of 35 making work. I brought you to a festival. You sort of were on the front lawn of this historic villa in Saratoga, rapping on the front lawn with 1,000 people around you. It's how you create these safe spaces. And I think it goes back to some of your comments about, taking this kind of history and how to make it, accessible, authentic, but you're not dumbing it down. You're not sort of cutting the corners. This is the real history. And for me, I love the dance. I mean, it made a lot of it because I love the string of that spirit that's traveled through the people. And it's a lot of kind of, for COVID, for me, has been thinking of this idea of the ancestors and, how we come together and how we move forward. So it's great. This idea of,
one last thing about, you just talking about coming to Montalvo, because I know there's a big history there with who owned that villa, and I don't think the person who initially owned that villa even probably wanted someone like me on the grounds, but we've reclaimed that space, and I think that's something that's hip hop for me in a lot of ways, of just taking over space. And there's not supposed to be an arts residency, there's not supposed to be NYU in a suburb in Sacramento, but we've reclaimed that space. And I know we're all coming from different traditions. All of these folks are coming from great, different traditions. But I think one of the things that we're trying to say in Adapting History is hip hop's ability to function the way Amiri Baraka says, as an art form capable of absorbing all foreign elements and adapting it as itself. And I think that's what we're doing in these times.
It's terrific. You've been an inspiration to many, right?
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add?
I just think it's really cool in speaking about adaptation, just choosing music to tell the story of a people, of a community. And because music is another entry point into the evolution or the adaptation of a people, of a community, of a space. And so in the same way that we are using music to tell our stories through this program, this piece that y'all have created is using music to tell a bigger story, which I just think is a beautiful thing. And what a great entry into the discussions and conversations we're having now, but also that we can foster in our young people throughout this country to actually elicit change and a greater wave of empathy through such a beautiful art form. And so I just wanted to say congratulations again on really doing a successful job of that.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. And I wanted to say thank you to all you guys too for all the feedback. And honestly, a couple of things really struck the chord, especially, we've talked about it a couple times as far as wanting to educate and not totally spoon feed or make it too light, and still wanted to have a little bit of that rawness, and some of history and some of what makes beauty is comes from rough, ugly, narratives. You know what I'm saying? And I think we were really talking about challenging the youth with this piece, right? We challenge you to kind of chew on it and think about it, because at the end of the day, hip hop was created by you, the youth, just generations ago. So it's kind of passing on to them and giving them the opportunity to dig into it a little bit deeper. And that's really cool that you guys, had that feedback as far as seeing the balance between the light and the heavy.
Yeah.
And delivering it to youngsters. So it's really cool. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I just congratulations. It's great. And thank you for all being together, taking the time to come and join us. This was terrific to meet you all. And I mean it, you need to send us your links, your names, so we can all keep an eye on what you're up to. And I hear there's a great club in Sacramento, the Aviary, that we need to get to. And I want to see you all there.
Exactly. It's gonna all come together.
Yeah,
It's
it's
awesome.
been an honor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes,
And congratulations again.
yes, yes. Thank you.
Such an
And
incredible piece.
more
Katie.
soon.
Wait for episode 2.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
You certainly know how to bring the people together. Donna,
Well, yeah.
while you were driving, you were busy.
Well, like I said, I think I've kind of readjusted who I am as an artist, and it's a gatherer. You know, I'm here to gather people, and I hope I can give them something good when they come.
And you do. We're sort of running out of time. I know Donna has a couple of questions. I have a ton. We need our own part 2. Donna.
Well, I want to just say, congratulations, Dahlak.
Thank you.
And there was a lot of positive comments and praise and appreciation for this work that you're doing in the chat. So I want to share that with you.
Great.
And, it's been really amazing to see the evolution of this work. I recall the impact on youth audiences at Montalvo when you presented the theatrical piece in 2016.
Yeah.
And it's been really fascinating to see how you've transformed it through this collaborative process of turning it into a film. And I have a question about, because I think the film is such an opportunity to extend the reach of this work and its ideas.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit more about your plans for the rollout and how are you going to reach out to engage more diverse youth audiences in this work?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is we are going to have a virtual premiere at the final day of the month on the 28th, and just keep an eye out. Actually, if it's not too much trouble, I would love folks to follow us on Instagram, adapting_history, yeah, we'll be posting all the events and a bunch of things leading up to that. And to be honest, we're still interested in how to maximize this as an educational tool. So while it will be a premiere, a screening, it will also be, we're hoping to facilitate a conversation where we can get some feedback, like if there's extra animation that we could add, if there's parts that we could cut out, just to highlight the things that we want the youth to get, then those will be our goals for that. And then afterwards, I just want to be in contact, like directly. I'm not going to put it out publicly, YouTube or Vimeo yet. I'm going to reach out directly to schools, school districts. And I've been working in education a long time. So hopefully just really maximize those efforts and really, just keep getting it out there. It's already being distributed around Yolo County with the Mondavi Center pushing that, and we'll do that. But and our big goals are to get it hosted on a platform that that could that everybody could watch, and so we'll be working on that and using all our available resources. I have friends who've done things on Sesame Street, and so I'm like, who I talk to for that? And, will they just watch this video and keep our fingers crossed?
Yeah, so it's going to be exciting to see like the responses you're going to get from your community and partners and people who maybe you haven't worked with before once they see this and know that there's that opportunity there.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to mention was I was really struck by, how in this moment you saw this opportunity to create your own residency together with partners, and how you kind of got together organizing your artistic practice in a collective way and pooling energy and resources. And it was interesting because it kind of reminded me a little bit of sometimes at the residency where Kelly and I are located, some of the artists will tell us that being in residency is like returning to grad school. You get that experience being back among your peers again, and you have artistic practice at the center of your life, the period of time that you're there. And, this is really a moment for us where we're thinking about what is our role at the artist residency? What role should we be playing for artists and supporting their creative work? What can we do better? What should we be doing differently? And so I'm just wondering, from your experience of creating your own residency and also your experience of being at the LEP program, if you have any kind of thoughts and ideas to share with us about.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of this is based off of what I received from being at Montalvo Arts. So there was an encouragement, even though I don't have even the facilities to play like the host that you all were for me. But I was encouraging like this, you know, I read this kind of statement to all the residents here when they first came, is I believe that you are artists that given space, given time, you'll be able to facilitate the experience that you want. So that was for me in terms of like acknowledging my own limitations in terms of time, but also my desire to be part of other people's experience and other people's desires of what the experience should be. And I guess if there's anything, because there's, you know, we're having the dinner, we're having little like check-ins and like conversations over wine, you know, that's a big part of our program. But I think if I could offer anything, and I'm still experimenting with this, is to continue to empower the artists to help take space, because that's what we do anyways. And so at any time, you know, you can create an event, you can tell folks that, you know, and encouraging the spirit of folks to participate in that, and not, like, you know, we get caught up in our work so many times at Montalvo. I just go straight, you know, back to my place, and I had a bunch of things to do. But I'm starting to think differently about time these days, and that, like, okay, you think it's going to take you 5 hours to do a thing, but maybe that's because you're just devoting all your energy to that thing. Maybe if you took an hour to communicate with your friends and communicate with your community, it could take you 4 hours. It could take you 3 hours. So like trying to look at time like that, and that community and what we do together and how we help each other is an essential part of what we want to do individually.
Yeah, how you can kind of pull resources and share skills.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that does take a kind of very collaborative way of thinking about working.
Yeah.
Which is exciting and does also present its own challenges, I'm sure.
Well, one part of my speech to my folks is humans together is both the problem and the answer, and we're here trying to move closer to the answer.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
That's why I love you, Dahlak.
Love you too, Kevin.
I want to go on, but I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I have to ask one. Can you just give us one bit of feedback you got from the students with the first screening at Mondavi, with Mondavi?
Well, I mean, they were just a little nervous at first. You know, I was trying to recap parts 1 through 3 as I was going to present part 4 to them, which is focused on improvising. And they were a little nervous, and, you know, a few of them received a few of the lessons. And it's a hard medium to teach, you know, a non-college class to. So I that's with all over the world right now. But as soon as they started throwing words at me to freestyle, I mean, it was almost like we were back at Montalvo Arts, you know, Performing Center, and we're just, you know, excited. What's happening right now? Is this, you know, the live feeling, you know, where what I couldn't hear in sound, they were kind of making up for with the chats, just going wild, like, oh, this is so good, you know, and they just really came alive in that moment. And it was interesting to experience a call and response and interaction through this medium, through just through their words and the speed that the words were coming at me.
It's great, Dahlak. You mentioned our education department and Charlie Wagner, and I think all of us, for just getting in there with you and you taking the risk and that program taking the risk. It's a great project, and it will, its legs will grow strong. So congratulations. Thank you for spending time with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And on behalf of all of our viewers who've been with us, they've had great comments. We'll capture the screen and we'll save it for you, and you can share it back with your NYU cohort and Amadeu and Vicente.
Wonderful.
It's perfect to meet everybody.
Yes, 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 of course.
Now,
until next time.
Until next time. Say, Donna, do you want to tell us what's coming up next on Scratch Space?
Yes, I'd be delighted. So on February 25th, we're going to be joined by Edra Soto, a Chicago-based interdisciplinary artist, educator, curator, and co-director of the outdoor project space, The Franklin. And Edra is an artist interested in creating and providing visual and educational models propelled by empathy and generosity. She's going to be talking about her practice and about her new project that is part of the triennial at the Museo del Barrio. So we're excited to speak with her and find out more about her work and what she's up to.